What is going on, everybody? What is happening? Today we have a review coming at you. This is the Yakgear Stakeout pole. This is a floating stakeout pole, and I have this one in a 6-foot version. They do make an 8-foot version, and I would probably recommend the 8-foot version. And once we get out and test this, and I'm going to show you kind of why you would want the longer version of this instead of the 6-foot. All right, guys, hit that like button if you like content like this. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, stick around. We have a lot of different gear reviews like this, and we put it to the test out on the river, lakes, whatever. We try to get on those big bass and put this gear to use. All right, guys, let's dive into this review. All right, guys, so we're going to start out talking about just some of the specs on this, and it's pretty simple. I'm not going to go overboard with this. It's a stakeout pole, and that is pretty much it. We're going to use this to actually anchor our kayak or john boat or whatever you want to use this for. Any kind of vessel that is larger than a john boat, I probably wouldn't use this for. It's just not designed for that. I mean, this is a Yakgear product, hence kayak, right? That is the target audience for this piece of equipment right here. And this thing is pretty cool. I mean, it's built very well. You know, I have seen some reviews on Amazon to where, you know, maybe it snaps in certain places, but it's kind of like a fishing rod, guys. I mean, sometimes you get a really good one and it doesn't matter how expensive it is. Sometimes that carbon fiber, or in this case fiberglass, just might not hold up to some of the conditions that we put it under. So keep that in mind. All right, guys, this is going to be perfect for that kayak angler or a john boat angler that's really looking to use a different type of anchoring system other than just a standard mushroom anchor, or the different types of anchors that you can use out there where you're actually dropping down a line to actually hold that boat in place. In this case, you're going to either use some type of device on your kayak to drop this down, and in my case, I just use the scupper plug holes, or I have some pieces of rope tied to the handles on the side, and that is what I actually use. You can use an anchor trolley. It's going to be a little bit more user-friendly for you, but in my case, I'm just keeping it blue collar, guys. That is one thing on this channel that we do. We keep it very simple. We don't go overboard with it, and it gets the job done. All right, guys, breaking down some of the specs up here on the head of it, you do have like a push-off type pole. So if you want to push off of rocks, you want to push off of logs, whatever, you can do that with this. And this is made out of pretty high density polymer, or it's a really strong plastic. I'm not actually sure what the material is, but it is really sturdy. You got some little holes right here where you can tie a piece of cordage or some type of shock cord. That way you can, you know, mitigate losing this if it were to fall off your kayak. But if it does have a piece of foam right here. That way it does float. So this is a floating stakeout pole, and we'll show you that in the video once we actually go and test this out. And I'm going to show you exactly how I use this thing to actually stake out the kayak to keep it from moving and anchoring up in the shallow water. And guys, this is a piece of fiberglass. Now it is a pretty sturdy piece. Seems like it has like zero give in it, so it's pretty sturdy. And then up here on the tip, it once again is like a high density polymer. It's a really strong filling piece of plastic. If it is plastic, you know, it's going to get the job done. I'm guessing that's glued in place. Now, I did see some reviews where people's tips right here did come unglued. You know, it might not be a bad problem to fix. You know, you could just run some Gorilla Glue up in there and actually get that to work. But once again, you know, if you get a product from a well-known manufacturer like this, you really want it to work right out of the box. I know I would be upset if it didn't. All right, guys, like I said, this is the 6-foot version. You can go up to an 8-foot version, and with those, they actually have some that you can buy an extension for and piece it together and make it even longer than that. But I would say if you go any more than 8 foot, you're just getting a long pole that's a little bit more cumbersome than I would like to use. And even this one is kind of big when I'm putting it on the side of the kayak. And I do run a 10-foot kayak. If you had a 12 or a 13-footer, this is probably going to fit it a little bit better, and it's not going to take up as much space on your kayak. So even though this thing is a 6 foot in length, it is 75 inches long if you're looking at it in inches, and it does weigh 22 ounces. So a little bit over a pound. It's not too heavy. You know, if you pick it up out of the package, I thought initially that it was kind of heavy, but you know, after kind of picking it up right now and feeling it, it's really not that bad. So it's not going to be too cumbersome if you're out there fishing on your kayak. All All right, guys, now that we laid out some of the specs on this, and like I said, we kept it simple. I'm not going to go into the breakout of the material and all of that, but we're going to put this to the test right now. I'm going to show you what you can expect out of this product if you were to buy it. Okay, let's say if we can get over here to the bank just a little ways where it's going to be pretty good, and I'm looking to fish this area right here. What I'm going to do, since I want the kayak to kind of be angled, is I'm going to use this rope right here, and I'm just going to stake it out. Stick this way down in there, and what this is going to allow me to do is stay in place, and I can really fish this and not have to worry about drifting down. Okay, so we got it staked out. We're going to go ahead and fish this little area right here. And I can do that very easily because the kayak is staked out here, nice and sturdy. And what you could do, if you don't want to use, you know, a anchor trolley or some type of rope system like this, like I'm doing, just to kind of cut down on cost, you could use the scupper plug holes here. And a lot of people don't like this, but I don't think you're really sacrificing anything. Or unless you were in heavy current where, you know, it could pose a safety issue, I think you're gonna be just fine. The thing was in there, really stuck down in that mud. You could use this scupper plug hole, you know, and just wedge it down in there, and that is gonna hold you in place probably even better. And I'm gonna show you right now, if we're facing the current and trying to stake out, this one is gonna be a little bit more user-friendly, and it's gonna hold you in place a little bit better because you're going to be in line with that current. You see, when I'm not using the stakeout pole, I kind of just lay it across the side there, and I do have a little piece of shock cord that I can kind of secure that down, and it's nice and out of the way. You can tell right there, it floats pretty good. So the whole thing does, not just the foam piece, but I think it might have something on the inside that actually makes this float a little bit better, but works pretty good. So you can retrieve that, and I would probably suggest tying a piece of rope or a piece of cordage right there to actually hold that to your boat or your vessel, just so it's not going to, you know, float away on you. So right here, I found a place that is pretty shallow. It's in line with the current. You can see how shallow it is right here. And this is a really good place to fish. And I'm just gonna jam this down in here. And that is gonna hold us in place, and we're not gonna go anywhere. So this thing is kind of in the way if I'm fishing like this. So you might have to go around it just a little. But the benefit of being able to stay in place kind of can outweigh me having to go around this and fish around it. Thought we had one there. All right, guys, hopefully this gave you a good reference at how you can use this if you're just trying to find some shallow areas to actually stake out on. And with this length of stakeout pole, that's what you're gonna have to do. You can't really stake off into anything deeper than, I would say, probably 4 feet, because you're probably gonna need at least this much where the grip is sticking out to even be able to control this and to actually pull it back out. So you're gonna be taking, you know, probably a foot of this off. And even the hull of the kayak is probably this thick right here, about 5 inches. So you're limited to probably about 4 feet of usable stakeout pole. So that's kind of where getting the 8-foot version might shine if you're looking to stake off in deeper bodies of water. All right, guys, so thanks for sticking around. Hopefully you like this review of the Yakgear stakeout pole. This is the 6-foot version. Hopefully you would have a good understanding of how you can apply this to your application, whether that's a John boat or a kayak, and some of the different ways you can actually use it. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We'd love to have you. Also, if you like this kind of content, hit that like button, and that really helps me out on the channel. All right, guys, I'll catch you in those next videos, and keep it blue collar.